And some of you may have already left the Facebook page, but we're going to go ahead and try and do one for you right now. Anyway, it was a software glitch, just wasn't happy. Anyway, I'm going to try and get Ken back on, but I'm going to have to call him and get him back on the phone. So give me just a minute, but let me just tell you a little bit about Ken while I'm kind of getting his link set up to go to him. And it's going to take me just a minute to do that. But Ken is our ministry director, and I'm typing to him and I'm sending him the link, and hopefully he'll get on. And but Ken is our ministry director and has been with us for a number of years with Global Missions Project. He is our main man for organizing logistically and getting our projects off the ground with all of our mission partners. And so I'm hoping to get him on here in a minute just so we can go ahead and chat with him a little bit. We actually did the interview. We thought it was running, but apparently it wasn't. And but anyway, Ken is here with me. He's here on the phone. And I'm going to put him right in here right now and let you see him. Many of you have heard from Ken in the past through emails and things like that with information on mission projects and helpful hints and spiritual and logistical and practical. And anyway, he's here. He is a great guy and a good friend. And so Ken's coming on with us right now. There he is.
There I am. Ken. Look at that.
Yeah, man. And I just explained to them that we had a little glitch. I'm hoping that some of them are hanging around, or maybe they're going to come back and on just so that they can hear our little interview here. But Ken is not only a good personal friend, but he's an incredible friend to Global Missions Project and has been with us for a number of years. Ken, how'd you get involved with Global Missions Project?
Well, I had the great pleasure of going on the second project for Global Missions Project. It was the year 2003, and there was a metro. Oh, it's on this side. It's weird. I'm looking at some weird stuff on the screen here. There. So we went to Finland, and the Metro Big Band, a great band. There's a lot of terrific musicians in there, and some great great people as well. And so that was in July of 2003. And if you're going to go to Finland, I think the only time you can go, the only time planes are even flying to Finland is in July, because you don't want to go.
That's not true.
Otherwise. But that was a great experience, and it affected me. I always had missions at heart, and some domestic mission projects, some international mission projects, but the first time with GMP doing that, and had an amazing time. And of course I stayed connected with GMP through the years. And then the next thing that kind of popped up, and if you'll allow me, I'll just kind of back up a little bit, give a story, because I like to see how God connects the dots and how God.
He does that.
Yeah. And so John Gage, who's one of the main orchestra directors in the United States, and in fact, I know you know more about his history in some great churches: First Baptist Atlanta, Shades Mountain Birmingham, Valley Baptist Church Bakersfield. Well, he had left Valley in Bakersfield, and he was working with GMP. He'd been there just around a year or so, and he was working down in the offices in Atlanta. And so Gary Matheny was the music minister out at Valley Baptist Church, and they were still looking for an orchestra guy. And he gave me a call, and me and my wife, we decided to fly out there and visit. So we went out there and visited with Gary, and the two co-pastors were from Oklahoma. Gary's from Oklahoma. I'm from Oklahoma. It was all feeling pretty good. There's even oil wells in Bakersfield. So when you see those, you kind of feel at home in Oklahoma as well with the oil rigs and things. So we had a great time out there visiting. Got to visit with the orchestra, doing a Q&A. I mean, it was already pretty far along with just the process. But still didn't have quite a spirit, a peace about it while we were there. I asked Gary for me to come home, pray about it. It took a couple of days. Still didn't think it was part of what God's plan was for my life. So I called up Gary and said, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to do this thing. And then John Gage, who was at GMP, Global Missions, he heard that I was.
So John was working at Global Missions Project at that time.
Yeah, he's working at the time. Yeah, at the time with GMP. And
by the way, Jorge Barrientos from Guatemala just dropped a little line in here. Jorge, it's good to hear from you, buddy. So
all the way from Guatemala. All the way from Guatemala. That's very cool. So anyway, John Gage heard that I was not going to be going to Valley Baptist, and he gave me a call and said, "Hey, do you mind if I heard you're not going to take the position? Would you mind if I call them up and see if I can get my old job back?" And I said, "Man, go for it." So he called them up, and they welcomed him back with open arms. He was loved of course, out at Valley Baptist, where everywhere he's been. That's been the case. And so then when he left and went to Valley, GMP calls me up and says, "Hey, we need some help." And so it was kind of interesting that by me not going to Valley and John going out there, that's what got me connected to GMP. And that was in 2006. And Global Missions was heavily involved with getting ready to take the Florida Baptist singing men, Baptist singing women, and orchestra on a project to both Sydney, Australia, and Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia.
And by the way, real quick, let me say hello to Kathy Eaton and also to Becky Rogers, Becky Malinky Rogers, one of our oboe stars.
Yeah.
Kathy Eaton from Virginia Beach.
And I didn't.
So anyway, so we're getting ready to do that trip to Sydney, Australia, and Kuala Lumpur. Kind of interesting that the project was going to include those two cities, which are not real close to each other.
No, I think there was reasons to go to both, very different reasons to go to both. But there's 185 people on that trip. And as we were working on logistics with Terry Williams, who directs that group, still does to this day, we were working with some churches down there and different things. And the name Florida Baptist Singing Men, Florida Baptist Singing Women, it was kind of big. It was kind of dated a little bit. So I had offered Terry a name change, and it went from, and to this day, it's now called the Florida Worship Choir and Orchestra. And so that's when it all started, was when they participated on that trip to those two locations. Interesting that was my first big project that I worked on with 185. And it was more than just one project with 185. It turned into many projects, MINI, many projects with 20 to 30 people going to different churches all through both locations.
I love that. And I love that idea that we were actually take one team that was divided into multiple teams in several instances and focusing on multiple ministries all on the same day.
Yes, and it was very cool that those churches that we went to in those locations, they knew that they were a part of a bigger thing going on for their whole city, because they knew that they had these music ministers coming into all these different churches in their area. So it made an impact on all the churches because they were all kind of buzzing about it. It wasn't just like a team coming in. For them, they knew that these teams were coming into lots of their sister churches. So that was very cool. The project in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, we started in Sydney. That were there for a while. Then we flew to Kuala Lumpur, and that was a worship conference. And on a Sunday, this project was it covered 2 Sundays. So one Sunday we sent out all these different teams to these different churches in Sydney. We did the exact same thing when we were in Kuala Lumpur. So the logistics behind that, of doing all those churches in Sydney, all those churches in Kuala Lumpur, that one big project turned into lots of projects. I flew down to Sydney about 3 days early prior to the team's arrival, and was making sure that everything was good to go on the ground, because there's lots of moving parts with 185 Floridians for sure. But that was my kind of introduction on the working with GMP in 2006.
Let me say hello to Jediel Suarez in Rio de Janeiro, an incredible percussionist. Loved being with Jediel last summer in Rio de Janeiro. And then also Robert MacArthur and Carl Vinson have just jumped on with us. And then Jeff McCombs, one of our drummers. And good to see you guys here and Barry Simpson, also another trombone player. Looks like the trombone players are gathering here together with since you and me are both trombone players.
Since we got trombone players, I'm gonna show them this. You have probably not seen this trombone. They're all lusting after it now, because this is a DeCarbo trombone. It's made of carbon fiber, as a matter of fact. So
my goodness!
Yeah, it's a fun horn to play.
Well, now, Ken, basically what you're saying is that was the first project that you actually had to launch. Do you have any idea how many projects that you have organized in the last 16 years?
Well,
actually, since 2006 would be
14 years. Yeah,
and 14 years. Yeah, your math is better than mine.
Well, and yeah, it depends on how you. It's the new math. It's maybe more than that. But there's certain things I count, and other things that I don't count. I have not been counting how many projects I've orchestrated, if I can use that word, doing the logistics on. But I have counted the number of countries I've been in, because maybe it's a smaller number. So I've been in about 36 countries personally, and of course worked with some other countries where we've sent some other GMP personnel on that particular trip where I didn't go to that country. But I've probably worked with more countries than just the 36 that I've been to.
Well, that's awesome. By the way, Pablo down in Guatemala, good to hear from you, buddy. And so glad to see so many of our GMP regulars who have traveled with us on multiple projects, including, one of the neat things that's happened over the years, Ken, is most of our projects are obviously in other countries. And in those other countries, we've been going to some of those countries back, because one of our important things that we do is return. We go back and go back again, because that's the way you build relationships. And it's neat for me to see a couple of names in here of people that are signing in and watching us right now, that they have actually traveled with us now. Internationals in other countries have loved what Global Missions Project is doing, and they're jumped on board to get a chance to travel with us in other places. And that's been so much fun to see that happen over the especially recent years.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where when you go the first time, they know that you're interested. You go back the second time, they know that you care.
That's right.
Those are two very different things. Yeah, you may be interested to come and see what we're all about, see the sights, see the sounds, all those kinds of things. You might be interested in this, but when you say, hey, we want to come back, that's when they go, okay, they're invested, and it's a bigger deal to know that we care about them.
By the way, Jeff Baltz just signed on, and he says, I have arrived. That's Jeff. Ken and I both know Jeff well. And Mary Worley, one of our really, really fine flutists, has just signed on and saying hello to everybody. Mary, good to hear from you too. Well, Ken, the projects that you do, they're all different because the cultures are so different. How do you deal with that, working with our mission partners in different ways? How does that work?
Well, first, you raise a great point in the fact that we do to go to many, many different countries. I see all these names of people who are joining us here today. And if they've been into different locations, they understand there are differences in those different cultures. The way that it's driven is part of who we are as Global Missions Project. We don't go looking for trips. We don't try to construct trips to go on. We hear from our host, our mission partners, to ask us to come in and help them in the work that they're doing. We come alongside them, we partner with them to assist them in their people reaching strategies. So everything is driven by our host. Now, there's sometimes when Global Missions, because of our experience and working in different locations, we can offer different ministry venues or avenues of reaching people. We can tweak some things that they might have to offer and the direction they're going. So we have those experiences that we can help our host. But we really want to empower those that we're working with. So it's the ministry strategies are first started through our mission partners.
I think one of the important things that you've been mentioning in what you just said is that we're not a tour organization.
It's all about ministry, and we've been asked before to do some trips, and I attend in the early days of GMP. I've kind of stayed away from the word trips. I know it's kind of generic, and a lot of people can use that and understand it to be an okay word. But I used to just stay away from it because it really is a project. It's a music mission project, and the project has attached to it work and ministry and investing into a place. We're not going to go look at buildings and bridges. We're going to build those bridges into people's lives. It's a big difference.
Yeah, and I tell people this every place I travel. We are a missions agency. We're not a tour agency. We want to do missions. We want to be involved in people's lives, and that's one of the main reasons that we do go back. We don't just go to one place and say that was fun. Now let's go to another place. We go back, and boy, we have built so many wonderful friends in so many different countries. I love that so many of our participants have maintained relationships with people that they've met on the mission field by going back and seeing them again, and then by continuing with them with email. And so they're actually ministering all during the year, whether they're actually in their presence or not.
Yeah, we've heard some great testimonies of even meeting other musicians. One of the exciting things that we do, of course, is going in and doing the performances that we do, the ministry concerts that we do. But we'll have locals come in and sit with us, and those relationships even go deeper. And we've heard incredible testimonies of where some of our folks have stayed in touch with those people. Of course, you and I stay in touch with all of our ministry hosts, and I appreciate the work you've done recently during this COVID-19 situation we're in, and making good use of the gift of time by going in and talking to our mission partners, checking up on them, seeing how they're doing, talking about future relations and projects that we can do with them. So even though times are a little bit different right now, I mean, we still understand that we've been given a great gift here of time, and we sure want to use it wisely.
I have to be honest with you. One of our participants, Charles Jackson in Louisiana, is the one that actually wrote to me, and he said, "Hey, what do you think about checking in on our mission people and seeing how they're doing?" I said, "You know what? That's a great idea." So he was the one that encouraged me to do that, and I'm thankful that we did it. And we've actually got a few more follow-up testimonies from others that we're going to be sharing here soon. Tamara Daniels just jumped on board. Tamara, it's good to see you and in here. And Tamara was signed up to go with us on a couple of different projects that we already had to postpone. How are we handling these projects that we've already postponed? We're using the word postpone because we mean it that way, and we've already postponed 6 projects this year.
Yeah. Well, currently it's really hard to do any planning. I mean, we can't even plan for next week, let alone months from now. But the thing that looks to make the most sense, as we've talked with our partners, as we've talked to our participants, what seems to make the most sense is our postponement is actually just transferring it to the following year. The time of year, we always ask our mission partners, when's the best time to come? So we just don't want to kind of back things up into a different time of year, because the time of year we go is also important to the strategy of what we're doing. So it makes a lot of sense for us to take these projects and postpone them to the following year, right around that same time frame, because there's reasons that we're plugging into different things, cultural events, specific church kinds of opportunities, experiences that they're doing. So we're that seems to be right now to making the most sense. Right, as far as the postponed trips, we've gone all the way through July, of course, which is kind of weird because we're really blowing and going usually by this time of the year, really knee deep in it. But right now, the Israel project, I think we saw who was it here that joined us earlier. They're going to Kathy. We have the Virginia Voices International going with the Celebration Orchestra to Israel in September. Our host in Israel right now, they're feeling good about things. They're keeping an eye. They're staying in touch with this on a regular basis, keeping us updated on what's happening there. So right now, we're just praying that that will hopefully be the next project that we go, and it'll still happen in September.
Tamara Daniels just wrote in. She said, "What's still on the schedule?" And right now, what's still on the schedule is hopefully that Israel project in September, and Poland Metro Big Band, and Ukraine Celebration Orchestra in October. Our hopes are that those will come to fruition, but we'll see how this develops. Also, by the way, Vivian Douglas just signed in. She's one of our mission partners in Guatemala. And Vivian, it's good to see you on board here with us. And Arthur, I have to put my glasses on.
So that's Arthur Paula-Bosarch. That's actually one of my contacts. They are, as some people may know, I work at the University of Mobile, and one of the things that keeps me extremely busy is a group called RAMCOR, and we travel just about every weekend. We've done this past year. We went to Carnegie Hall. We went to Steinway Factory in New York. We played at Macy's on a Friday. We were at First Baptist Church, Dallas, Texas. We did a K-Love Christian Music Cruise. I mean, RAMCOR is just one of those groups that just go. And Paula, Arthur, and we call him Bubba. It's Bubba and Paula Bosarch, and they help drive our vehicles for us. Now, they had a son that was in RAMCOR playing baritone. He's graduated, but they feel like part of their ministry in life is to help RAMCOR continue to do their ministry. So even though their son graduated and is not with us anymore, they're still driving for us and being a part of our ministry in a big way.
Awesome. Hey, I think I saw another one of your guys just sign on, Adam Bundy.
Adam's a student of mine, plays trumpet, and there you go. And there's another one down there I thought I saw too. Angie Glass, she's the mother of Austin Glass. Austin is another student in Ram Corps, plays percussion. So yeah, there's some of our folks latching on here. So I appreciate that.
And Tom Savage just signed on. Good to see you, Tom. And also Paul Gustafson, one of our travelers who's been with us to a variety of places. And
The one and only Pat Bennett.
Pat Bennett.
That's right,
Good
man.
old Pat Bennett. He's our buddy. Pat's a church orchestra director in Tifton, Georgia, I believe. Yeah, Tifton, Georgia now. And so.
And I'm getting a
anyway.
birthday wish for everybody that is on here. My birthday was this past Tuesday.
And I missed it.
Yeah, I was going to go somewhere.
And I'm sorry.
I was going to do something. I was going to see some people, but of course we're quarantined. So my birthday looked a lot like every other day.
So did you just go to Sonic?
Well, I think we went to Chipotle and grabbed a bag off the rack and brought it home and ate Chipotle. That was my big birthday lunch that day. Yeah. It's a little different.
Ken, we've talked a lot about the project in general and some of the cultural aspects of it and how it develops. The fruit of what we do. Oh, by the way, Richie Kingsmore just jumped on. Hey, Richie, good to see you, buddy. And spiritually, where do you see the meat of what GMP does?
Well, there's so many layers to that. We talked about the relationships, but it's when it really kind of all boils down to it, it's about letting people know that what took place on that cross, the relationship that Jesus wants with them, and what he did on the cross to die, to be buried, to be raised 3 days later. We've celebrated Easter here just recently. And that message is the message. It's the message of hope. It's the message of love. It's the message that Jesus Christ died on the cross to pay the penalty for our sins, that we was one day, that we know that he's purchased a place for us in heaven and we can spend an eternity with him. Everything revolves around that. The reason we go, the reason we partner with our mission partners, our host out there, it's the message of Jesus Christ. Things can get watered down sometimes. We can talk about feelings and emotions and putting our arm around people, and all those things can be good. But if it's without that central message of the hope that we have in Jesus Christ, then this is all for naught. We do it for that reason, and that's the thing that's kept us going for all these years. There were some pretty tough times in the history of GMP, but when you look at the message of what we're about and the hope that we have in him, boy, that's all you really need. That's all you need is that message right there.
Well, that message is timeless, as we know, and it's a message about eternity, and a message that we can all cling to, especially in a time like this.
Yeah.
Knowing that God has control over everything. We do want everybody to know that, and all the people that have sent little notes to us already know the answer to this, but we have seen hundreds and hundreds of people come to Christ over the last 16 years. And it's been incredible to be a part of that. But you know what? I see what we do under two umbrellas. One is evangelism. The other one is encouraging believers, encouraging the church. And some of the countries that we go to where the church is being persecuted heavily, we have an opportunity to come in and truly be encouragers to those who are already believers and to lift them up. I noted, by the way, that just the other day, received an email from a pastor in Kenya where we haven't even visited this particular pastor, but he found out about Global Missions Project and began to communicate with me over the last year or so. And one of the things, he's never asked me for anything. All he's ever done has been affirming and encouraging to me. He's writing me in with that. He has a small church of about 35 people that he preaches to. And but about a month ago, I said, "What do you need?" And he said, "We need Bibles." He said, "We have about 35 in our church, and we only have 2 Bibles." And he said, "We really could use that." Well, one of our participants, a Global Missions Project participant, Dan Dorrell, works for the American Bible Society, and I got in touch with Dan. I said, "Is there any way to help these people out?" Dan put in a call, a note, or whatever. And last week, they received 35 Bibles at that church. And that all came, we know that GMP got to be a piece of that, putting that together because of Dan's involvement with us, our contact with him. Once again, God connecting the dots, like we've said so many times.
Connecting the dots.
And I just got a photo of the people in his church standing there all together, all holding up their Bibles. I love to see that.
Hey,
and
Cam,
even though that was
I'm sorry, go ahead.
yeah, no, I said,
Okay, I just wanted to expand a little bit on your thing about encouraging. It's true. We evangelize the lost. We encourage the believer, but we also want to edify the church. You know, that we encourage on two different levels. We go in and we have these individual relationships with people. We have guest musicians who join us. We have those long-term relationships. So we can encourage individuals, but I think it's also important to encourage and edify the body of Christ. We want those places that are lighthouses in those areas to come together and be strengthened. And whenever you've seen it so many times when we come in and have a ministry concert, then the people, the sweetness, the spirit is so sweet in that place, nobody really wants to leave. And a church comes together and they're strengthened. So it's encouraging the individual, but it's also edifying the body of Christ.
and Carl Vinson just mentioned this too, and he said the encouragement also goes to our participants. Those that go are getting encouraged as well.
And let me say something to that real quick too, because we see all of our great participants who are typically a part of Celebration Orchestra or Metro Big Band, but we need to remind folks too that existing ministries at churches are hugely important to what we do. And the cool thing about that is when they're meeting every Wednesday and every Sunday and every Wednesday and every Sunday and leading up to a project, they're coming together. They're coming together and working toward this mission project. Then they go on the trip. They have a unique experience together on the mission field. And then what happens? They come back from the mission field as a galvanized group. And the strength of their ministry is much stronger, having led up to it, been a part of it. And when they come back, their ministry is even stronger. So for those that are a part of something that exists already in the church, we've got a great project coming up next year in Brazil with First Baptist Church Dallas Choir and Orchestra. And I know that I'm excited for them because I know what happens when you lead up to it, when you participate, when they come back, it's going to be a stronger ministry.
And they're changed. I mean, every project. I've been on over 100 GMP projects, and every one impacts me, brings me back new and changed in very, very positive ways. Well, Ken, it's been great to be here with you today. Let me just tell everybody that is listening that we're going to do 2 more of these this month. We're going to do one next week on Thursday. It's going to be earlier in the day. It's going to be at 2 p.m. Central Time. 2 p.m. Central Time. It's going to be with Colin Peckham, who is our mission partner host in 2 countries. He's our mission partner host in Cape Town, South Africa, and also in Scotland. And we're going to get a chance to connect with him next Thursday at 2 p.m. Central Time. And then the following week, back at 5 p.m. again, we're going to have a chance to meet with Alan Suska, one of our outstanding trumpet players who truly has become a musicianary in every way. God has taken him and he is a driven missions trumpet player. And you're going to love hearing from Alan as well. It's been great to see all of you who have signed in today and written a note. And God bless you today. And in this unique time, stay safe and stay well and stay off the streets so that you can hang in there and be healthy, hopefully. And God's going to get us through this, and looking forward to that day. And we can tell you, Global Missions Project, we are so thankful for any of you who are watching today. We encourage you to continue to pray for GMP as we progress forward, looking forward to that door to open when we can launch out to serve the Lord through missions again. God bless you.
Thanks, everyone.